Excellent. Another fantastic episode coming at you guys. Thanks for tuning in. This episode is actually brought to you by Dieter's Emergency Sand Delivery because let's be honest, you never know when you'll suddenly need a mountain of sand. Last minute beach party, kids sandbox revolt, camel on the loose, Dieter's has you covered. No waiting around for landscaping companies. We deliver fresh, gritty sand in 30 minutes or less straight to your doorstep. Buckets, barrels, or full dump truck loads, whatever your sand emergency requires. Dieter's Emergency Sand Delivery. When life demands sand, we demand action.
Why is my sand gritty? That's
Well, I
why is that the advertising angle?
I don't know. You'd have to ask the guy that's in charge of their marketing. I don't know. Maybe they don't know their core demographic.
Dude,
Are you thinking?
I have the best story related to trucking and sand. That's not related to this at all. So when I was in college, I was a member of a fraternity. Very long story there. But one year we had a beach theme luau party at one of the houses, like the live outs, basically a house on
Sounds
campus that a bunch of dudes in the house lived. So we threw a luau party. And so they trucked in like 2 dump trucks full of sand to make a beach in the backyard at this rental house.
Wow.
And they rented a giant 20-person inflatable hot tub. And
Oh my god.
dude, this was 2007 maybe. And so everybody had the old flip phone Motorola razors in their pockets, and everybody got thrown in the hot tub, and so there was probably 40 cell phones ruined that night because this is before anything was waterproof. So yeah, that's the last time I had sand trucked in anywhere for anything.
What did you end up doing at that party? Really staying in the corner, being a good guy like usual, right? Not doing anything too crazy.
Yep.
Yeah.
One of my 6'5" tall friends jumped off the roof into this 2-foot deep hot tub. It was so stupid. He was fine, but it was just college was a wild time for everybody.
Yeah, which when you're at that age, you feel like, oh, I'm an adult, I'm smart now. And then now
No.
looking back, I'm like, no offense to any college kids, but I'm just like, oh my god, the college kids are so. What are they thinking? And I mean, I was there too, right?
It's a rite of passage, baby, to be 20.
For sure. Yeah.
Which this is a good segue because we're going to talk about stages of life.
Can I just ask you before we do, because I did have one sort of off the cuff question like we usually do, and I wanted to ask you, you're familiar with the YouTube channel Veritasium, however you want to say it?
Yeah, love that one.
Love that channel.
My favorite one is, I think it was him, the one about rainbows and how rainbows work.
That was a good one.
Dude,
yeah,
that's so crazy.
The electricity one was really good too.
Yeah.
And then, did you ever watch the entropy one that I sent you?
Oh yeah,
that's a great one. Anyways, one of the things that he'd asked, which I kind of just wanted to put this out there in the airwaves because it's counterintuitive, but he would go on the streets and he'd ask people of all the energy that we get from the sun, how much does the earth radiate back relative to what we get? What percentage would you say? And most people are like, I don't know, half, 70%.
It's 99+%.
Well, it's all of it, right? Because long term, it's all of it. Because if it's stored any, it's a violation of the first law of thermodynamics, right? You can't. So it was just kind of interesting. It's one of those things.
Well, I mean, some of it does get stored here for a while.
Yeah, I'm just again, if you long term, eventually it just gets recycled. Everything gets recycled, and it's just that whole episode was great. So hey, anyone listening, if you want to nerd out sometime, check that episode out. Okay, but we are actually going to get on with it now, and we're going to talk about this episode is something I wanted to do because I thought it would be beneficial for just a wide range of people that that listen to us. And
let's be real, you want to talk about this because you've realized you're getting old.
I am getting old, but the wife doesn't mind the gray coming through, so I'm okay with it. But I have noticed I definitely train differently than I used to when I was 29, 30. So I just figured this was relevant for people that, we get people that listen to the show who are 20s, 30s, and then we get people who are in their 60s and 70s. So this is obviously something that's on people's mind. This is basically, how our fitness needs change. Your priorities are going to change. Your strategies are going to evolve through, different stages of your life. And so we can kind of talk about how do I customize my fitness, or how do I engage properly in fitness and exercise during these different stages of my life so that I can still pursue my goals. We can also talk about how realistic certain goals are as you progress through life, because at some point we might have a goal that, based on where we're at in our condition right now and just the facts of life, it's maybe not as realistic, but here's something else you can do. So we're gonna talk about a lot. I think I already talked about some of, I didn't go into detail, but some of my training is obviously different than what I did 10 years ago. When you go to the gym now, do you train differently than you did in your 20s? And if so, how? Like, what's been the biggest difference for you?
Um, I mean, the frequency at which I can train,
I think for me, it's the volume.
the volume, the intensity, the risk reward ratio I take, like doing 90+% cleans at this stage of my life has a very low return, like risk to reward ratio, right? Now I'm more likely like, okay, I'd rather just front squat if I need to do that. Like I'm not going to go do Olympic lifting anymore. Now, if I really loved it, maybe yeah, but it's just all of those things, right? How many days a week I get to the gym, how long I spend in the gym, what my total training volume is, the risks I take, you know, all of those things change.
Yeah, and I don't have just I also I don't really have the same goals that I used to have when I was in my 20s, mid 20s, late 20s, even my early 30s. I don't really necessarily think I have the same goals that I used to as far as aesthetics and the way I look. For me, it's more about, at this age, it's more about, are my bones and my joints and my muscles, like, do I have a healthy musculoskeletal system, and is my heart healthy? That's kind of where my mindset is at now. And I just, I realize as I get to middle age here, those things are much more important, because again, I want to be around when I'm in my 70s and 80s and be able to pick up my grandkids and all that. We've talked about this before, but those are my goals at this point, and I'm sure when I'm 50 and when I'm 60, those goals will change, even more so. But what, like, for you, what is your main goal right now when you're training? Like, what are you training for?
Um, I mean, it's really to just how can I keep my functional ability to do the things I want to do as high as
Right,
possible
right.
with the least amount of time invested. Right? Like if I want to go this weekend, if I wanted to go on a 6 mile hike, like throw the baby in a backpack, go hike with my wife, like I want to be able to do that. If I want to go play pickup basketball for 2 hours, I want to be able to do that. If I want to go, water skiing, like do I have the strength and coordination to do that? If I want to go ride my bike 20, 30 miles from like the cabin into town to go get breakfast, like can I do those things? So it's really like, can I have the capacity to do the things I want to do like on demand?
And what is your favorite thing to do now?
Same things it's always been.
So basketball.
Yeah.
Yeah. And does your wife, I mean, I know you guys will go on like hikes and stuff, but does she do anything outside? Like, does she ever? This maybe is an absurd question, because maybe she just doesn't at all. But does she ever play hoops with you? Like, will she go out and shoot? Will she go out and play pig or something? She's not like that. Okay, okay. So
I
you
mean,
really,
if we like had a hoop in the backyard, she probably would. But like she
yeah.
won't. She doesn't come to the gym with me and do it.
So literally, like, if you want to play basketball with somebody, you've got to actually go like to a pickup game or something, like where there's actual people. I just didn't know if you had anybody like nearby that you could like quick hoop with.
I
All
mean,
right,
or like
so
I'll just go work out for an hour on the basketball court.
yeah,
Like I've
right.
got enough
Just
stuff in
shoot.
my head. Well, like I mean, I'll do like drills. I'll do conditioning. Like I'll do those things by myself.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's yeah, kind of similar to when like football, I would just go do football drills. So I can relate to that. Anyway, one of the things, so I kind of want to shift gears here, because and I don't know obviously a lot about the hormonal and biological changes that occur, and you can shed light on what you know and what you don't know. But obviously, I know that in our 20s, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I mean, I think it's pretty well established that in your 20s, that's kind of your peak muscle building potential, like age, right? Like, and that's you haven't hit your prime yet until your late 20s, and so kind of after that, those things sort of taper off, and it's not as easy anymore. So, what is like, what do we need to take into account? And maybe for those that are younger, listening to this, like the benefits of starting when you're younger are things that you can take with you for life, right? Like if you build that base at a younger age, aren't you more likely to kind of carry that with you and set yourself up for a healthy 30s, 40s, 50s? Like so the younger you start, kind of the more you're setting yourself up to be healthier in the long run.
Yeah, I mean, we know that muscle mass and bone mass declines with age,
Right.
especially, I mean, it varies a little bit. Let's just say, to just keep a round number, from 40 on, you lose, like, I think it's 8 to 12% of your muscle mass per decade of life. And you lose,
That's
I can't remember the exact number, but of bone mass per decade per life too. And I mean,
that's
some of
that's
that's
kind of a
mitigated
lot.
by training, et cetera. But yeah, but that means like in 30 years, you've lost 24 to 36% of your
Right.
muscle mass. I mean,
Right.
a lot of it's like, think about it this way: you work to save a bunch of money, so when you retire, you can spend that money, right?
Yeah.
Part of your teens, 20s, and 30s is, can I build enough capacity in my body that it will carry me into old age, right? And so, if there's like one wish I had for the younger generation, is your teens and 20s, like if you can just invest in trying to get as healthy and fit and robust as possible, it's like one of the best returns on investment you'll ever have, right? We always talk about like, hey, save money when you're young because of compound interest, but like you never have less responsibility and more free time than you do in your teens and 20s. You never have the biological chips in your favor like you do in your teens and 20s. Um, and so you have like all the tailwinds of being able to like build a really robust physical body to live in. Like that's the time to do it. Now, that doesn't mean you can't do it in your 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, but like if I had one wish for teenagers and people in their 20s, like, dude, spend all your free time just doing that. Like, just
Yeah.
build an incredible body to live in because you will
For
be
sure.
living in it.
That's great advice, and I definitely gonna. That's something I've tried to pass on to my kids because I can remember. I mean, I didn't really start getting into like serious lifting until I was like 18 or 19. But I remember thinking, man, I wish I would have done this when I was 13, 14, and really just built up that strong base. And I didn't do that. But I think it's just so. If I could go back and do it, I certainly would. Since I can't, I can pass it on to my kids. But I think that's just such a great point, is just building that really strong foundation. And I like the way you phrase that. Like, it's your body. This is what you're going to live in, for the rest of your life. So just you should you should make sure that you're strong, that you're setting yourself up really well. But I think the problem is kids don't think like that, right? So obviously it's you don't really have the wherewithal to think ahead. Most kids don't. I know
I
I'm
mean,
generalizing, but most kids
it's
don't think that way.
it's sort of like, of course they don't think that way, but like that's part of the education process of like raising your kids, right?
Yes,
I mean, I think
absolutely.
like, we always hear these things like, oh, the schools didn't teach me financial literacy, like they didn't teach me, investing, saving, taxes, stuff like that. It's like, okay, but like, why aren't those conversations you can have with your kids and your family,
Yeah, where's the parents' job? Yeah.
right? I mean, like my kid's 6 months old, so like I really can't say anything about any of these things with any real street cred. But like those are all values you've got to instill and like live out, right?
For
Um,
sure.
so
We did get a comment. As someone who is 50, this is a bit depressing as I may have missed an important window. Well, I'll do what I can now. Yeah, I wouldn't. I mean, and I don't think there's any reason to be depressed. I mean, even like Brad said a little bit ago, like that doesn't mean you can't do these things in your 50s and 60s. You can still absolutely build muscle. You can strengthen your bones in your 50s. Is it going to be at the same rate that you'd be able to do that at in your 20s and 30s? No, but you can still absolutely do that. I mean, there's no reason to don't let that depress you, Debbie, for sure.
yeah, I mean, also if you didn't, if this wasn't a priority in your 20s and 30s, like you probably still have a lot of the like newbie adaptations that you will have. So, I
Good
mean,
point.
it's better to start today than wait till you're 60. I mean, you still have a lot of tailwinds in your 50s that you can make huge improvements, right? Like, think about it this way. If you live to 90, you still have 44 decades to work on this, right?
Good point.
Like 4 decades compared to 6 decades, like you still have 2/3 of the entire journey of what you could have had left. Like that's a huge amount of time.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, that's
So
a great
then
perspective. Good way to
you're
look at it.
you're maybe a little bit late, but you're not that late.
Yeah, for sure.
Just don't dally.
Yeah. So I want to talk about, before we move on, the bone strength side of things, because that's such a, I just don't know that most people think about it. Most people think about building muscle and how important that is. But bone density is equally, if not more important, I would say, because when you if you're old and you break a hip, let's say, like your chances of dying within a year after that go up dramatically. So just the importance of strong bones, I don't think can be overstated, which is, you don't want to put yourself for risk of osteoporosis. Obviously, you don't want to put yourself at risk for sarcopenia, right? Muscle loss. And so resistance training becomes essential. And so I really can't think of any other exercise that would be more beneficial, or type of exercise more beneficial than resistance training as you get older. Obviously, going for walks and jogs if you can is great for your heart, but I mean, really, to strengthen your bones, to make your bones more dense, and to strengthen your muscles that are going to keep you upright and walking and not at risk for breaking, for falling and breaking bones, like, is so crucial, right? I mean, I just think that that's one of the most important pieces for longevity.
One of the core tenets of skeletal physiology slash orthopedics is a concept known as Wolff's Law. Um, and I mean, there's like a technical definition for it, but it's basically like your bone directly adapts to the stresses you put on it, right? And so that means both in the location, like if you stress your arms or your legs or your ankles or whatever, like they will adapt in that location, and also the amount, right? So the more that you load and stress your bones, both like by vertical force, like carrying stuff on your back, and then like bending, like bend forces, your bones get thicker, stronger, denser, right? And so you have to load your bones all the time, because if you don't use it, the opposite happens, right? If you don't load your bones, they get weaker. And so the best thing to do is just load your bones. And that means spend more time upright walking, lift some weights, do some rucking. All of those things. If you're really cool, you could go get a artificial gravity generator and spend time walking and training in space like Goku does in Dragon Ball Z. So those are things you could do. But like that is a huge part of how you keep your bones healthy.
What When I think about building strong bones and bone density from lifting, what I think about is putting a really heavy weight, like bar, on my shoulders, squatting down so that this bar is above, almost, is above 90% of the bones in my body. That makes sense to me. What doesn't make sense to me, I mean, it does, but like I'm trying to visualize it. It's like, but if I'm let's say I've got some dumbbells and I'm just curling the dumbbells, how is that making my bones stronger? Or is that what you alluded to, which is sort of, they're kind of bending, right? That's the bend part of it.
Um,
Because I imagine that certain lifts won't build, dense bones like other ones would. Like, I would imagine there are going to be optimal types of lifts that are more optimal for that.
I'm trying to figure out the best way to answer this without getting too technical. So, one of it's been a while since I've taken a biomechanics class. Like it's, let's see, 2011, 12, so 13 years. So I'm probably going to butcher some of the details. But in many cases, the amount of force that your joints experience from your muscles contracting is far greater than the force they feel from the weight. Right? So like if I'm doing a bicep curl, the act of contracting my biceps puts more joint stress on the ends of my bones in my arm than just carrying the weight.
So
And
that's
so a
the
lot of it
mechanism
is
that
the
makes it
contraction.
stronger. Is
Yes.
right. Okay, gotcha.
Now the difference is like when you are doing, let's say you're doing a back squat and you have the bar sitting on your back. The whole time it's there, you have the gravitational force, right? It's just sitting there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Plus, as you're standing there, you have all the like micromusculature that's keeping your spine stable. There's some force there. And then when you go down and up, so you get a longer loading period than when you're just doing a bicep curl, right? Um, but the problem with that is if you're only working out 3 hours a week, you're only getting 3 hours of loading. All right. So if you're
Yeah.
sitting in a chair all day and you do 3 hours of work a week, it's better than nothing, but it's not a lot. So you got to stay moving and stay active, right? And you got to really be engaged with it that's why like just having a walking treadmill is great. Going on
Yeah.
hikes is great. Um, if you do things like running or jumping, you get extra load because you also get the weight of like the compression is extra load and you get it for longer periods of time. So like if you walk for an hour, you have an hour of total gravity loading your body, right? Including your legs and all those things. If you lift for an hour, well, you only get the time where you're actually engaged in the lift. Like I think I did the math one time. It's like if I work out for an hour at the gym doing weightlifting, I'm actually probably doing 13 to 15 minutes of actual working set work.
Yeah. You know what this reminds me of? When humans land on Mars, how are we going to prevent bone density from decreasing? The gravity is obviously like less than half of what it is here, right? So like that's going to be an issue.
Yeah.
But because right now, don't they like on the ISS?
They
They
have very
obviously like lift weights and
special. Well,
like
they can't really lift
equipment that.
weights. They have to use
Well, no,
bands
I'm
or
like that's what I mean. Like or
yeah,
stuff that's attached to like
cables.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's because that's such a I don't know why my brain goes there. Just other than because I'm weird, but there you go. But
Dude, have you
I
ever read? Speaking of gravity and Mars and being humans, I mean, we would be able to jump so high. But have you ever read
yes,
the Red Rising books?
no.
Oh, dude, you have to read them. I mean, you can read, right?
Give me a 15-second synopsis.
It's set in the future. Humans have colonized Mars. There is a class structure, and they're based on colors. And gold is the highest tier, red is the lowest tier, and it's about this guy who is a red who becomes a gold and then takes
Okay,
over the whole civilization and like resettles everything. It's like imagine if a real adult wrote Hunger Games. That's what
that'd be
it's
cool.
like. It was
Okay, yeah.
awesome. It's so good.
Well, speaking of Mars movies, have you ever seen Total Recall with Arnold Schwarzenegger?
I
Because
have only seen the remake with Colin Farrell
oh really?
and
Oh my god.
God, what? Why can I not remember her name? Kate Beckinsale.
Yeah, go if you sometime you'll have to watch the original. It's pretty it's corny, but it's like funny corny. Anyways, we did get another comment here. It says it's from Michelle, 63 here. Running and resistance training has definitely increased my bone density per DEXA scan. Is there like and I just thought of this question, but how do we measure bone density? I mean, obviously you do have the DEXA scan. I'm not sure entirely how accurate or inaccurate that is. I'm sure it's accurate to
It's
some
fairly
degree,
accurate, yeah.
especially compared to like other
Yeah,
additional DEXA
X-ray.
scans.
Yeah,
But
I mean,
yeah,
the nice thing about that is like it's really just a densitometry measurement.
yeah, okay. So let's move on. The part I think we need to pay attention to as well is as you go through life, sustainability becomes more important, right? So adapting your plan to whatever stage of life you're in to keep your fitness achievable long term rather than something that you burn out on. Obviously, you need to pay attention to things like safety. What are the types of lifts that I mean, like Arnold Schwarzenegger. If you ever see, if like there's been videos of him online on what his routine looks like now, the guy doesn't. I don't even think he lifts free weights anymore. He just does machines now. So like that's something to take into consideration. Do we how much stock should we put into those types of things, or is it really just about if it's not free weights, it ain't doesn't like just do whatever you can. It's really the resistance that you're after.
Yeah, I mean it's what you're actually caring about is the load, like the type of load, the magnitude of the load, and the response your body's going to get from it, right? And then you have to factor in how much do you enjoy it, what's the risk profile, etc. Right now, if let's say you're 70 years old and the only way you're going to go to the gym because the only thing you like to do is Olympic lifting. Like, okay, you just have to realize like you do have a higher risk of injury than if you're just using like the leg press machine, right? But it's always like you have to factor all those things in,
Yeah.
right? So it's not like older people need to only do X and younger people need to do Y. It's like, well, figure out, take all the variables into the equation and like figure it out, right? I mean, for example, God willing, I know that the risk of me having a acute injury that keeps me out of work is much higher playing basketball than
Mhm.
it is going to the gym and doing whatever just lame workouts I do there, right? And that's only going to get higher and higher the older I get. But like God willing, I will be playing when I'm 65. Right? Like
Yeah.
I mean there may be a day where I like completely hang up the shoes and even right now I probably play 4 or 5 days a month, but that's just the risk reward of what I'm going to do. Right? Now I can't
Right.
go play every day because my body can't handle it. I can't recover from it. I don't have the time. My wife would kill me, like all those things, right? Plus, if I have a day where I play bad, then I'm in a bad mood the rest of the day. So like all these things, I gotta like factor these in, right? But like that's just the personal calculus you have to make. All right. And I think that's what's important is like as your life changes, that equation changes, right? When you are 20 years old, you don't have kids, you have a job, not a career, you have no overhead in your life. Like if you had to go sleep on your friend's couch and spend $2 a day eating and like feeding yourself and you could live on $200 a month, like, okay, you can do different things and you can have a different risk profile. But if you're 42, you own a business, you're responsible for 30 people's salary and you have to show up to work every day and you can't afford to have 6 weeks off of work because you have some back surgery, like
Right.
you're probably not going to go be a professional power lifter. Like it just, but then maybe when you're 65 and you're retired and you want to get into like masters powerlifting, like cool. It's like every phase of your life has different like personal equations that you can make work or not work.
That was interesting that you mentioned the recovery because there was an article that I had come across not long ago. I just pulled it up. I'll read this. I just thought it was interesting because it actually dives into why, as we age, don't we recover as quickly, right? Like what's actually going on, or is it BS? Because you sometimes you hear people, oh, I'm 40, I can't play like I used to, but there's truth to it. And so this kind of dives into why. I just thought this was interesting, but so I won't read all of it, but I'll kind of give the summary here. Muscle repair and protein synthesis. In your 20s, MPS is highly efficient. After training, your body rapidly shuttles amino acids into your muscles to repair damage. In your 30s, the efficiency begins to decline gradually, and in your 40s, anabolic resistance sets in. Your muscles are less responsive to that and training stimulus. Then you've got the hormonal environment: testosterone, growth hormone, and IGF-1, which what does that stand for again? Remind me.
Insulin growth factor.
Is that it? Yeah, okay. Are at peak levels in your 20s. In your 30s, levels decline, and in your 40s, decline is even more noticeable. And then you've got inflammation and cellular repair. Younger bodies handle inflammation better. Acute inflammation after a workout quickly resolves. And as you age, chronic low grade inflammation increases and antioxidant defenses decline. So this means post exercise inflammation lingers longer, making soreness and fatigue last longer. And that makes total sense, right? Because if I play a flag football game, I'm definitely sore for longer. Mitochondrial function also becomes less efficient with age, which slows healing. Then you've got connective tissue recovery issues. So tendons, ligaments, and cartilage recover more slowly. In your 20s, blood flow and collagen turnover are higher, so you bounce back quicker. In your 30s and 40s, collagen production slows down, connective tissues stiffen. I don't know why I'm laughing at that, but like I do walk like an old man sometimes after that. And micro injuries take longer to heal, contributing to joint aches and longer recovery times. And then lastly, um, the CNS takes time to recover from heavy training. Younger adults can tolerate frequent high intensity work, but with age, nervous system recovery slows, meaning fatigue and mental burnout from training lasts longer. So just kind of like all of those factors. I mean, I'll never forget my dad growing up. When he was started late 40s, early 50s, and him like kind of groaning, like half-hearted, like half serious, but also serious. And he'd be like, God, it sucks getting old, man. It sucks getting old. And he'd always, he'd warn me, like, wait till you get old. It's going to be, and here I am. Here I am. So I just thought
I have
that was
two
interesting.
questions. Did you use Grok or ChatGPT for that?
This was not, no, this was not either of them. I could expand, I could have them expand on that.
The other thing is like, whenever I see stuff like that, I'm like, okay, but what? Like, what am I gonna do about that?
Well,
Right?
so
So
let's go there, because you
yeah,
can combat some of that, right?
I mean, I think the thing underlying all of that too is your base level of being quote unquote in shape. I'm just going to use this as a general comment of like your overall metabolic, cardiovascular, musculoskeletal system, like fitness, also directly affects your ability to recover, right? The better shape you're in, the better you recover. And the better shape you're in, the less that a individual workout taxes your body at like a red line status, right? So for example, if I don't squat for 6 months and I go to the gym and I squat heavy for 5 sets of 5, I will not be able to walk for a week.
You're going to be
Now,
yeah.
if I squat every day or twice a week for all the time and I go do it, it's not going like I'm not redlining my body to now I have a huge gap between what I'm capable of and what I'm pushing myself at. So the more you keep all your systems running at high capacity, the less you're taxing it, and the higher capacity it has to recover from the stress you place it on, right? And I think this is a huge part. I helped a friend of mine with a book that he was writing, and I did some of the background research for him. This was a couple of years ago. And one of the concepts that he talks about in the book is like, what is your part of aging and your declining health as you age is the fact that your total capacity decreases. And so every time you're exposed to some sort of insult, your body's less capable of handling it, right? So if you start going from squatting twice a week to once a week to twice a month to once a month to twice a quarter to once a quarter to twice a year to once a year to never, and then you go back to squatting, well, like that's a huge stress you're placing on the system that's not ready to handle, right? Now, if you keep that capacity high, like you can tolerate it, right? The same concept applies to pretty much everything, right? Your cardiovascular capacity. The greater cardiovascular shape you're in, the less going on a 3-mile run feels like it's going to kill you, right?
Yeah.
The same thing applies if you have a heart attack, right? If your heart is in great shape and it is used to having periods of large metabolic flux, it's exposed to very high rates of oxidation and oxidative stress from exercise. Well, when you have a heart attack and you have no blood flow and then you get reperfusion and you have all this, myocardial insult happening, your heart's in way better shape to handle it. And there's been studies on this, right? And mice and in humans, like we know this. So the higher your body's capacity to handle stress, the better it does with all of the factors of aging. So build that capacity.
Here's a random question for you, but it's related. So let's go back. Let's go to your squatting example. Let's say you haven't squatted for a year. You decide I'm going to go rip out. Yeah, you say I'm going to go rip out 3 sets of 10 reps. How much at risk are you?
A lot.
Well, but like, I guess I'm trying to think of how I want to ask this. Like, if you're someone does the risk of something like that, or does the risk of rhabdo doing something like that increase the older you get? Should that be something you should be concerned about?
It would be like really hard to have rhabdo from that low volume.
Okay, so it would require a lot more.
If you did like 10 sets of 10, maybe.
Okay, so it would take quite an extreme thing to do.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, no, the real question you should be asking is if I hadn't squatted in a year, how do I get back into squatting? It's start with very low volume. Like do
Right, right,
maybe 3 sets of 3 or like 1 set of 10. Don't go
right.
back to do 3 sets of 10. Like it's going to be terrible.
Yeah. 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 I've always found, have you found that like it's not necessarily the next day that feels worse? It's like 2 days later.
Yeah,
I
that's
always
how it
feel,
works. Yeah.
well, see, I can't, I don't know if that's like, is that an actual scientifically proven thing? I did not know that. I thought it was more of a
Science.
perception thing.
As
Why
Jesse
is that?
Pinkman would say in Breaking Bad, science. Can't say that
What,
word.
but why is that 2 days? Like, what's the science behind that?
I think it's like that's when all the peak swelling and inflammation and all the
Takes
like
place? Okay.
chemicals that accumulate in that space and
Yeah.
your nervous system starts to like pick up on all those signals.
Yeah. Yeah. It does suck. I think
It's
the old,
I mean it's like when you like have you ever had a bruise? Like it always looks worse like 2-3 days after, not the next day.
yeah. 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 Um, the only thing I've found, and this is at any age, to alleviate that soreness is like to go get the blood flowing and do a little bit more.
You just got to
Like
yeah, you got to work. You got to
yeah,
go walk
yeah, loosen them up and like get the blood flowing through and like, and then it makes you feel better. But like, if you
or
just sit around, you
or
it
sleep for
sucks.
6 straight days and just sleep through all of it and then wake up.
That would be
Coma.
yeah, I love sleep. If I get more than 7 hours of sleep, though, I'm like I don't. 7 is like my max. I feel good at 7. But you're more of a what 3-4 hour guy, right? What's an
No,
average
as
night of sleep for you?
honestly right now, 7 and a
Okay,
half.
that's okay.
Yeah.
That's more than I thought you would say. Because there's nothing like getting a text from you at 3 a.m. and being like, "This is
I mean,
happening."
there's,
You've never
there's
actually
probably
texted me at that point. I'm just kidding.
no. I've probably sent you emails at that point, but
Yeah, that's we've stolen a car at that age, or at that
yeah.
time
I just want to make a PSA. Dylan has committed a felony.
at 3 a.m. or whatever that was. Okay, I
I'm
think
glad you're now. You've gotten through the
the
like phases
the
of
admission
denial where
phase.
now you're accepting it.
I was complicit in it. I wasn't the main culprit, but I was an
Doesn't
accomplice. Okay,
matter.
I'll admit that. I was just along for the ride. I still will maintain that. Guilty as by association. Okay, so the one of the questions that I kind of put on our docket to address, and it wasn't from someone that like directly asked the question, or rather, it's this is a common theme that we hear from our female clients, and that is that the older I get, if I'm in menopause, like you can't lose weight, right? Can we dispel that? I mean, I know that, and this isn't to detract. I'm not a woman. I don't know what it's like to be in menopause. I can understand that that makes it harder, and I won't pretend to know all the mechanisms behind it, but obviously we have clients that are in menopause that are losing weight. So it's not that you can't, but it is harder. So what do we need to pay attention to? Like, and then like, is there a different type of training that you might maybe want to pay attention to while you're in this phase of life to like aid with that, right? In other words, is it like, are these women better off focusing on cardio? Are they better off on training, or is it both, or does that not maybe matter so much?
So I've been doing this for a long time. I have been writing, sending out emails, publishing articles for 16 years, which that's crazy. I have never gotten more hate mail than an email that I wrote back in, I think it was 2019, 2020. Basically doing a deep dive on the science about weight loss, weight gain, and menopause. And the through line of the article was, hey, there's hormonal changes that occur. The data is pretty clear that none of them have any direct influence on your ability to lose weight. There are indirect effects of like, hey, you don't feel as great, you don't sleep as well, so your
Yeah.
physical activity declines and generally your calorie consumption goes up. Like the data is crystal clear about that. And I have never gotten more hate mail in my entire life than I did for that. So I'm just going to plant that flag that my email address is actually Dylan@macrosinc.net if you want to send any hate mail in for this episode. um, but here's the reality, and I'm gonna try to say this as clear but as empathetic as I can. As an adult in modern society, there is going to be certain phases in which doing the things to make weight loss achievable becomes more difficult, right? When you first start your career and you work long hours, it's hard. When you have kids and they're young and they take all your time, it's hard. When you experience very large emotional things that happen, divorce, death, addictions, things like that, it's very hard. When you go through the challenges of menopause, of not sleeping well, not feeling well, all the emotional stuff that comes with it, it's really hard. So there's always aspects about adulthood, social, biological, that stack the odds against you. Yet it always comes down to the fundamentals of how weight loss occurs. Now, that being said, there are some things we know about menopause that women should be aware of. One, the changes in hormones can make you more likely to lose muscle mass and bone density. And you probably need to prioritize the nutrients and the types of exercise that optimize those things. So, resistance training becomes much more important for maintaining muscle mass and bone density. Consuming a moderate to higher protein, higher calcium, higher vitamin D diet becomes more important than when you were in your 30s. And prioritizing sleep when you can becomes more important. Nothing about that screams you need a major medical intervention. You need to drastically change the exercise you do. You need to go on any sort of supplement hormonal optimization protocol. None of that appears to be true. But the problem is, none of that feels much different than what your normal daily life is as you're going through it, right? Engaging in resistance training, eating well, making sure you're getting enough calcium and vitamin D in your diet is not going to, like, you're not going to wake up the next day and feel substantially different. And so I think it's hard to get buy-in sometimes when that's what actually works.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, well said. What about I want to chat about, so for those of us that have children, I have 300 of them. Most people only have a couple. But there was always this, not always, but like there was this kind of this idea or this myth growing up that I can remember that I don't know if you've heard, but do you ever hear people say that if you start if you have kids lift weights, it can stunt their growth? Have you ever heard that? Like it,
Yeah, I
like
mean,
basically, like
that was a thing back in the 90s, I think. My parents
right,
wouldn't let me lift weights when I was like 14 because that's what they thought too.
and that's what I remember. Do we know now that's just not accurate?
There's no data to suggest that recreational weightlifting has any meaningful impact on any
Their
negative
growth.
impact on height.
Okay, so is there any? So for those of us that do have kids, and let's say, because I want, like, I try to make my kids, be as active as they reasonably can, right? But I'm talking like, we have a playground in the back, jungle gym. There's monkey bars. There's all sorts of stuff to, I think most of the time that's all kids really need. But for those that want to get, have their kids join them, and maybe you got a home gym or something, like, is it okay to have, kids, sort of work out with you, as provided that they're doing things safe, like pick up a couple pound dumbbells and start working out a little bit, right? Or like, is there anything wrong with that, or what should we be kind of,
No.
teaching our kids?
I mean, here's my bias. I think we should teach them that this is part of being human, is physically moving. And
Yeah.
you can do it out in the world. You can do it in a gym. You can do it doing physical activities you enjoy. You can do it doing a lot of things. And just teach them that, like, this is part of life, right? It's sort of like making your bed, brushing your teeth, cooking meals. Like, this is part of
Working out,
this is
exercising. Yeah.
part of having your body. Like, you have to feed it. You have to water it like a plant, right? You have to move it, and like just teaching them the skills of like, here's how you can exercise, here's what this looks like, here's how you make it fun. And so I think having your kids join you is great. Just
Yeah,
the more you can make it play, I think the better. I think the same thing goes for
that's
adults. Like the more you can make it play for yourself,
yes,
that's even more
exactly.
important.
No, I totally agree with that. And I just think it's for me, it's kind of, I'm trying to lay that foundation for them for a lifetime of healthy habits. Plus, they they see what their parents do, and they it's the environment that they're in. So if they see you like regularly lifting, or in my case, we have a sort of a home gym set up downstairs in our basement, so they can see me working out, and it's just be like a normal thing. So it's okay. That's what Dad does. That's what I should do. They enjoy working out with me. They enjoy doing those types of things. We play a lot. We're physical. Like I do stuff with them in the backyard, football, catch, throwing the baseball, and hit it. So we do all that kind of stuff. I just think it's so. That's how I grew up, and so I just know it benefited me. So I try to pass that on. But I also think it encourages, I think, their confidence and self esteem. I think that sort of like physical play can really do a lot for kids' self esteem. At least that's what I've noticed.
Yeah, I mean, also I think, and this may be a little bit off topic, and people may disagree with this, but like one of the conversations my wife and I have had just about raising a kid is it also comes down to like what you decide to prioritize in your life, right? So like
For
for
sure.
me, like financially, I just don't buy stuff, right? But I have no problem spending money on books. Like I'll buy I'll go to the bookstore and I'll buy 10 books knowing I may read 2 of them, right? But like and also like physical activity, right? Like if I want to start like if my kids like they want to start mountain biking, like okay, we can go buy a mountain bike, right? Because either you love it and you get into it, or you don't. And like in a year, we're gonna sell it, and maybe I lose a couple $100 on like buying you a nice bike. You want to buy a scooter, you want to buy a baseball, you want to buy a paddleboard for the lake, like things that prioritizing those things, I think also teaches your kids like, hey, we're not
What
going to
do I
go buy
value?
a new 90-inch TV. Instead, we're going to
Right.
go buy you a mountain bike. Like, what is it that we actually value in our house? And I think those are important things too, right?
For sure. Yeah, it really does. It highlights like you're just highlighting for yourself the things that you value. Obviously, you value things that you can learn, things that you can store in your brain, and you value things that are going to make you physically healthier too. Like that's very apparent in the things that you buy and invest in. So those kind of habits that you pass down to kids, hugely important, I think. um, I think I want to just I don't really have a ton more to add, but I kind of wanted to cap off the episode, unless there's something else you wanted to add, but just kind of talking about an overall how I would summarize like people in your 20s. Here's what you should maybe focus on in a general way. People in your 40s, people in your 60s, and so on. And so I would just say, just to put a bow on all of this, kind of summarizing the things that we've talked about and some additional thoughts is, if you're in your 20s right now, push your performance. And by the way, if you disagree with any of this, I want to hear your thoughts too. But I think in your 20s, push your performance, right? Set strength PRs, play sports, try different things. Obviously, learn proper form and experiment and build consistency and figure out what works for you. But also nutrition wise, focus on really learning and understanding nutrition. I think in your 30s and 40s, prioritize resistance training. I think that's a very protective measure against what is going to come in the coming years. Nutrition, obviously, hugely important. Recovery is bigger, right? So I think prioritizing your sleep and try to reduce your stress as much as you can in recovery. Those things are important. And then you get into your 50s and 60s, I think the shift kind of becomes, how do I preserve the muscle I've built? How do I preserve my strength? How do I lift, in a way that is not, I'm not overdoing it, but allows me to just be functionally strong, whether that's resistance training, even things like yoga, right? Stuff like that can help. Joint health, I think, is important. So mobility and low impact cardio, stuff like that. Just daily movement, right? So just you kind of see how these things just change over time, and of course, there's exceptions to all that. But I think as you age, those types of things, like your focus and what you're kind of working toward it and what you value is going to change. And then I almost like, I guess for kids, like you said, make it fun, make exercise not really like it's not punishment, right? Play sports, just play, go like dance, play games. I think, modeling healthy behaviors for your kids as parents, the kids are going to mirror what you see. So I think for them, it's really about having fun and what can I do as well, how can I make this exercise fun? So I don't know. Would you add anything to that? Do you disagree? Agree with any of that? Whereas as you age, like how our priorities change and the types of things that we do and we value.
The only thing I would say is don't let preconceived ideas of what you should be capable of dictate what you try to do. Right? Let your body kind of tell you a little bit, right? Like I'm 37 and I still try to do things I could do when I was 20 with some level of modification, right? Like when I go play basketball, I don't step onto the court and go, I'm 37, I'm not going to do X, Y, and Z. Right? Now there's certain things like I can't do anymore because I'm 37, but like I don't.
Can you still dunk?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But like the same thing when I'm like hiking or skiing or doing all those things, like I try to let my body dictate what I can do. I don't try to put preconceived ideas ahead of time. Be like, oh, I'm X age, I should only do Y. Right? Because I think age is just a number, baby.
Yeah, no, I think those are good points, and I think I'm glad that you added that because as my answer was sort of a generalized answer that I hope doesn't give people the impression that that's something you absolutely have to follow. Just do what works for you, and I think ultimately the one thing that I try to keep in mind and like is kind of my underlying driver is look, I just want to like I just want to live as long as I can, not be, because I just want to be around for my kids and my grandkids and my wife. Like that's what matters to me the most. And so I think as I pay attention to the things I eat and as I pay attention to my exercise, those kind of are the things that drive me and probably will continue to drive me for the rest of my life. So that's all I got. I don't know. I thought this was a beneficial episode. Is there anything off topic or on topic that you want to talk about before we duck out of here? Anything exciting in Brad Dieter's world that you want to share or any news that you've come across that you feel like would be interesting to share? Anything off the top of your head at all? Now's the time to discuss it, Brad.
Are you setting me up for something?
No, not at all. I'm pretending that I am, but realistically, I'm just like, hey.
I was pretty excited to see Starship go through its full test yesterday. That was pretty cool.
We should go like see that in person sometime. That would be, and I don't know if you can like. I'm sure they have like an entrance area where you can buy tickets, or you could just like park like a couple miles away somewhere and just go watch it. But that would be sweet.
Yeah, for sure. We will have some updates, announcements on some big stuff coming in the next couple weeks.
Woo-hoo!
I can't say that.
Well, you could give us a hint.
No.
Okay.
I'll give you the same hint I gave you last week. It's hiding in plain sight.
You're hiding in plain sight.
Mm-hmm. The more you know.
All right. Well, I did not mean to hit that button. I apologize, guys. I'm going to hit that button momentarily.
Amateur hour. All right.
This is the point at which we hit that button. So thank you all for tuning in. Appreciate you guys, and we will see you next week. I'm going to play our outro. Adios.